She beat her. The woman who just walked into the loudest, most hostile atmosphere any American tennis player had faced in years, thousands of Filipinos screaming, flags covering every inch of the stands, chants shaking the walls before the first ball was struck. She won. Alycia Parks beat Eala at the Australian Open. And then, 2 months later, standing in Miami at the tournament where Eala became a legend, Parks looked into a camera and said this: "It's actually really great that she has so many fans. Especially for tennis. It's good." Asterisk from the woman who beat her. Who cried on court because of the crowd. Who had to rebuild herself mid-match in front of the whole world. That's the most powerful compliment in tennis right now. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why. Go back to January 19, 2026. Melbourne Park. Court 6. First round. The queue to get in stretched 100 meters before the gates even opened. Fans were turned away at a Grand Slam for a first-round match. Not a final. Not a semi-final. A first-round match against a player ranked 100th in the world. That's never happened before. Inside, it wasn't a tennis crowd, it was a pilgrimage. Flags. Chants. "Let's go Alex" bouncing off every wall. The chair umpire issuing warnings for crowd behavior before the second game was finished. And Alycia Parks stood in the middle of all of it. Alone. Zero support in the stands. The entire weight of 115 million people's love for one player pressing down on her from every direction. She played the first set. Lost it 6-0. Didn't win a single game. And then something happened that nobody expected. She cried. A 25-year-old professional athlete, in the middle of a Grand Slam match, on camera, in front of thousands of people chanting for her opponent. She sat in her chair and let the tears come. The noise had found the seam in her armor. And for one visible, documented, completely human moment, Alycia Parks was breaking. Most players don't come back from that. Not with this crowd. Not after a bagel set. Not here. Parks came back. She reframed it while the tears were still drying. "It was a new match," she said afterward. A new match. She wiped her eyes, reset her game plan, and came back out and hit 12 aces. Sprinted to a 3-0 lead in the second set. Won the final 2 sets 6-3, 6-2. From 0-6 to a match win. One of the most remarkable individual turnarounds in Grand Slam tennis in years. And she did it while the crowd was clapping her double faults. "I don't know what my record is with crowds against me," she said afterward, laughing asterisk, "but it definitely puts a fire under me." Asterisk. She laughed. After crying. After fighting back from a bagel. She laughed. That's a competitor. But here's the part the scoreline doesn't tell you. Here's the part that gets completely buried under the result. When it was over, after Parks had won, after the chants had faded, after the flags came down, the Filipino crowd gave her a standing ovation. The same crowd that had spent 2 hours making her life as difficult as possible. The same crowd that celebrated her missed shots. The same crowd that had the chair umpire reaching for his warning cards. They stood up for her. Because Filipino fans and every establishment figure in tennis needs to understand this are not a mob. They are a community. They know the difference between an opponent and a villain. And when someone fights through everything they throw at her and wins with class, they acknowledge it. Parks walked off court 6 with a win, tears drying on her face, and something harder to quantify. A new understanding of what Eala actually means. Now let's talk about the institution that failed everyone that day. The WTA scheduled Eala's first Grand Slam main draw appearance on court 6. Not Rod Laver Arena. Not Margaret Court. Not even a show court. For a player whose practice sessions drew crowds that dwarfed the main stadium. The line stretched 100 meters. Fans were turned away at the gates. Hundreds stood in areas not built for viewing because there was nowhere left to sit. It got bad enough that Novak Djokovic, on his way to his own Grand Slam final, stopped to address it publicly. Asterisk. She's been the biggest tennis player ever from that country, which is a big country. You could argue it was maybe a poor schedule. Asterisk. Djokovic. Defending the scheduling rights of a 20-year-old Filipino girl. In a press conference about his own campaign. That's how completely inescapable the failure had become. And Alycia Parks, the player who had to perform inside the chaos that scheduling decision helped create, who cried because of the crowd it produced, came out the other side still praising Eala's influence on the sport. That's character. That's the verdict that matters more than any ranking or any result. After the loss, Eala posted on Instagram. She didn't complain about the small court. Didn't mention the pressure or the impossible expectations. She wrote, "What I do is part of something shared. Part of something shared." She lost in the first round and she posted about shared experience. That's the philosophy. That's why it keeps growing. The fans feel it radiating back at them every time she speaks, every time she writes, every time she competes. It isn't performance. It's real. And every player who has faced her, Keys, Gauff, Linette, Pegula, Parks, every single one of them walks away with the same conclusion. She is good for this sport. Monica Puig put it plainest. It doesn't matter if they know tennis, they don't know tennis. They show up for their countrywoman. They learn the game by loving the player first. And the player makes them fall in love with the sport in the process. That's how you build a fan base that lasts 50 years. Not through broadcast deals or promotional tours. Through one girl from Quezon City playing the most fearless, most authentic tennis the WTA has seen in a decade. Eala said this week in Miami, opinions and expectations can change. That is not in your control. What I know are facts and truths. And the truth is I've been working really hard. Facts and truths. Not rankings. Not external validation. Not anyone else's ceiling for her. She knows her own truth. And her truth is that she belongs here, and she's still growing into everything she is going to become. Alycia Parks saw it. The woman who fought through tears to beat her. Who endured the most intense crowd environment of her entire career to beat her. Who had every reason to dismiss the Eala story as hype after proving she could handle it. She came to Miami and praised her anyway. Without bitterness. Without conditions. Because the truth doesn't change based on who won. And the truth is this. Eala isn't just changing women's tennis. She's changing who gets to feel like they belong in it. Which countries produce champions? Which courts need to be the biggest in the building? Which press conferences fill up? Which cities sell out 2 months before the first ball is struck? She's changing everything. And even the women who beat her know it. That is the greatest compliment of all.